I'll say 1, 2, 3, record, and we'll start recording on our, like the voice part on the computer. And then Sierra, our super fancy way of being able to line up the voices is she says 1, 2, 3, and we clap.
Okay.
Like
So official.
it's our way.
I like it. That's how I do it.
Perfect.
Okay, so yeah, I'm able to record.
Okay,
Ready
good.
to record voices. 1, 2, 3, record.
All right. 1, 2, 3, clap. Yes. Goodbye, recycle men. Seriously, in our last episode, you could hear the clinking glass falling into. It was ridiculous. So glad. This is perfect timing. See, your technical errors helped us.
Good. I'm glad.
Get rid of the recycle men.
I'll start.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. And are we gonna front load like we've done before? Do that later.
Front load it. Just do it later because we don't want to.
No time. Welcome back to the In Raw Life podcast. We are super excited episode because we get to a marriage expert coach of 5 and just amazing extraordinaire. Her name is Marriah Cummins, right? Cummins?
Yes, Cummins, yes.
And she is from Mamas and Marriage, and she is here today to help us talk about relationships, especially marriages, and using effective communication, because I think we feel like that's one of the major things that can get in the way of any relationship, and communicate effectively or that becomes a downfall. So
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. Could you tell us, especially because Sierra hasn't really gotten to talk to you that much yet, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you have become a marriage and mama coach?
Yeah. Well, I guess the very short version of it is I say I did it all wrong so that you guys can do it all right.
Amazing.
But yeah, I got into marriage and motherhood coaching, especially with communication, because there's just so much around motherhood that kind of this motherhood is miserable, kind of real and cycle, and you see it a lot, on memes, which is funny, and there's low moments for sure, but then there's also a lot of high moments. And then through my own journey, and then through coaching and talking with other moms, I started realizing it's kind of this chicken and the egg argument where are you miserable in motherhood because frankly your marriage kind of sucks, and it's just kind of you're just blaming it on motherhood, or do you feel like your marriage sucks or it's just not where it is because you're really struggling in motherhood? And I just saw the two were so intertwined, especially in my life and my journey. So that's where I really got started, where, when you can kind of fuse it together and you can see, that marriage is such a beautiful gift. And once we can kind of get out of our own way, more or less, and really dive in and create that relationship that we want, that we need, and also that we as women deserve, that's where really all that change happens. And it happens in our relationships with our husbands. It happens in our relationships with our kids as well. So that's really where I got into it. And yeah, anyway, but I really love, so much of it with the motherhood and marriage because they are so intertwined. And, once we get that change that we need, it really changes everything.
So, okay, you said that marriage is a gift, and I totally love that because I also hate that. Like, I feel like, so when I got married, I really thought that it was going to be like this picture perfect thing.
Oh my
and then
gosh,
I got
yes.
into it, and I was like, this sucks. Like, what the hell is this? And I was so mad because I feel like all the fairy tale princess stories lied to me.
Yes.
And happily ever after is bullshit. So can you talk about how marriage is a gift? Like I think that's so beautiful. You're married 12 years now, right?
Almost 11. Yeah.
Almost 11. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So after 11 years of marriage, the fact that you see it as a gift again, I feel like maybe there was like a like there was a point where it wasn't a gift and you see it as a gift again. Can you explain that? Because I love it.
Yeah, I would say probably the first 8 years of my marriage, I did not see it as a gift. I was exactly like you, like, what the hell, and everything that people had, we did do the premarital counseling and stuff like that. And
Oh, sure.
I was exactly like you. I thought like my wedding, it was like the happiest day of my life. I'm like, this is amazing. And it took about like 5 minutes into the honeymoon where I'm like, are you kidding me? Like we are such different people. And I've also known my husband since second grade. And so I'm like, I thought I knew this guy. And I mean, even stuff I remember like money that I have to like go by you before I spend money. It was bizarre. Anyway, so yeah, I would say the first 8 years of my marriage, I didn't see it as a gift, but I did have we had kids pretty much like right away. We got pregnant. Our oldest are twins. We got pregnant with them, I think like 5 months after we were married. And
wow. Yeah.
So it was really fast. And I also say, full honesty and disclosure, I really do believe that God gave me so many kids so quickly, because I would have bailed like immediately. I'd be like, no way, this is too much.
So what was I thinking?
Yeah, like, well, now we're here. And
yep.
But when I started realizing it was a gift was when I realized that all the stuff in marriage and all of my struggles and everything like that really was because it was bringing out in me the stuff that I had ignored, kind of that shadow side and the really ugly parts of me that I wasn't willing or even able to recognize or deal with. And so when it became a gift, it was able to bring that part of me out and really work on it through me, because it really exposed that raw side of stuff that I needed to, deal with as well. And when you're married also to a partner who can do that too, it's really a beautiful thing, and you guys can work together and really, get all of those ugly things, recognize it, and then also release it. But yeah, like I said, it took about 8 to 9 years of marriage to actually get to that point where I could recognize like, wow, this is a lot of, just shit that I haven't dealt with. So now I need to deal with it. And then having that partner able to give you that accountability to, call you out on that stuff so that you can deal with. So that was the shift that I saw personally for me.
That's so funny that you just said that, because my husband and I we literally had this conversation last night talking about one of his friends who's single and just is very lacking self-awareness, and like we're not judging him, like our hearts are breaking for him because we just want him to be like, to work through his stuff. And he's like, yeah, well, he doesn't have accountability. And I realized, I'm like, yeah, I mean, he has once a year. I said to my husband, I'm like, if you and I were not married, I would be super stubborn and unwilling to change too. Because if you were to come to me once a year and be like, this part of you is terrible, fix it, I'd be like, screw you, pal. But you're daily saying, hey, fix this. And I'm like, fine. Okay. Yeah. You're right. You're totally right. So you're right. It is a gift. And it's like a gift of self-realization and a gift of humility. But I think that is a beautiful gift if you look at it that way.
Yeah. I like what you said about self-awareness. That's so true. It really gives you a new level of self-awareness in marriage. It's like holding up a mirror, right?
Yeah. And it is a mirror when you're not wearing makeup yet. You're not fully dressed. It is not pretty. Oh, man.
Marriah, can you give us however, not elevator pitch, but like kind of your backstory? You said you guys met when you were in second grade, and just how the relationship came to be, like your origin story and the first 8 years.
Yeah. So my husband and I met in second grade. We grew up in the same church. So we actually met in second grade, Sunday school. And I say his pickup line to me, he had this St. Bernard, and it was when Beethoven was out. And so I was like, oh, and he said it's a little dirty now as an adult, but he's like, yeah, you can come over and see him. I'm like, oh, do you ever go ride on him? And he's like, oh yeah, you can take rides on Beast anytime you want. And so it's kind of sure, now
amazing. I love
second grade, like you could go ride on it anytime. Perfect. So, but we always were, friends. We grew up in a small town, and but we didn't start dating actually until after college. I had moved back to take an internship, and he had moved back as well, finishing. He had one more year left of school when we got married. And then, yeah, we started dating, and we totally just, it was a very like fairy tale, I guess, story where it's, we've always been best friends. And then
Yes.
we started dating, and we dated for 6 months, got engaged. And then 6 months later, we got married. And so that was our beautiful kind of origin story. And then, like I said, we got married. And then it was like this whole realization, like, oh, this marriage isn't the end. That's actually just the beginning. And then, yeah, getting pregnant with twins totally threw both of us for a loop. He was still finishing his last year of school when we were married. And having twins, it was kind of the same, which is probably just my life as well, kind of this idealized fairy tale. So, when I was pregnant, I go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm pregnant. And then it's twins. This is amazing. And I read all the books. I kind of did all this stuff. And I had this picture in my mind of what I'd look like when I'm pregnant. Like you don't look pregnant from behind. It's all belly, you're glowing. And I was humongous. I was wider than I was tall. And then I had this crazy, I don't know if you guys ever heard of PUPS. It's this rash that you get when you're pregnant. Oh, and it is, I call it Satan's rash. It just, there's nothing you can do to get rid of it until you give birth. So I had this rash all over my body. I was itching like crazy. And then I gave birth, similar to marriage, like, okay, now it's all over. Like the hardest part is over. And then I had these two twins trying to breastfeed, and my husband did not get it. Not, like I just thought, of course he'd get up in the middle of the night with the kids. No, it's like he just slept all the way through. I was to say, you're not married to unless you wake up in the middle of the night with a baby screaming. You just look at your husband and want to smother him with a pillow. So that's kind of where it just, started. And I realized that, it just wasn't going to be what I thought it was going to be. But instead of, and I didn't have that self-awareness at the time. And instead of recognizing like, okay, let's pivot, let's see what works for our family and works for us. It was just resentment and bitterness that I was the one doing all this stuff, like he got up, he went to work, he came home. I was the one, and I was, working outside the home at the time. So, I was the one getting up, getting my twins ready, getting the bottles, getting their diaper bag, all of that stuff ready. And then I came home, and you're still on the whole time. And that's really, I would say, where it just started like devolving. Is that the right word? Disintegrating.
Yeah.
But without even me recognizing it. And then, I always say it was like a year, every single year, where like, should we have more kids? Should we not? And then I got pregnant every year, right at a year mark. So, and then it just compounded on it with each baby and with each pregnancy. But once again, just not dealing with it, just stuffing it inside, just like, okay, it's all on me. Like, I will do it and keep doing. Until at one point you just hit that wall where it's like, I'm done, and I just can't do it. I can't keep doing anymore. And then when you hit that wall on his end, he's like, I thought everything was like more or less fine. But it wasn't for me. So that is the origin story. And then it's like up and down.
Yeah. I feel terrible laughing, but I fully I just hear your story so much, because I'll say that to my husband sometimes, like, we're not connecting, and he's like, what are you talking about? Our relationship has never been better. And I'm like, that's because you're getting laid a lot doesn't mean our relationship is good.
Right? I heard this once, and it's so true. It's like women, we have different relationship thermometers, women and men, where women, we're always kind of testing the relationship. Like, is it a little hot? Is it a little cold? And guys just, either it's like a sauna or it's an ice bath. Like if it's anywhere in between, they're like, it's fine. If you ask, if you usually ask a wife about her marriage, she'll say, like, oh, this is what's going on. We're not connecting. I don't feel like he's hearing me. We're not communicating, kind of like all of this. Or even it could be good. Like, well, this area is good, but, we're always kind of taking the temperature. But men, if you ask them about their marriage, they're like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So what happened when you hit a wall? Like, what was your changing point or your transition from just doing to thriving?
I would say my transition. So after my fifth was born, I think I had some level of postpartum depression, anxiety with each one. But like I said earlier, I never addressed it. It was like just kind of stuff it down and keep going, And I would say definitely kind of on the outside or like social media. Like I actually looked through my old social media posts and I cringed because I'm like, oh, I know that girl in there, she's just dying. But on the outside, it just looked great. But after my fifth was born, that's really when I just hit a wall. When he turned 3 months old, he wasn't gaining any weight, so I had to stop breastfeeding. And any woman who's attempted to breastfeed the breastfeeding guilt is just enormous. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's my fifth. I should have it figured out by now. So I had that, and then I was just devastated. Then my grandmother, who I was really close to, died suddenly that day. And then my uncle on that side passed away the next day. It was just this kind of crazy thing. And then I had all of my kids at home. They were all under 6 at the time. And that's really just when I hit the wall and I just crashed and burned and spending every day just sobbing and crying and I got out of bed, I still performed more or less. But that's really when I hit the wall and I just didn't know what to do. And I reached out for help, and and not everybody, but I definitely was met with some comments like, well, you shouldn't have had so many kids, or, well, this is life, like, welcome to motherhood. And when I did see a doctor, they gave me a prescription for an antidepressant, and it didn't help. It was just so much deeper than that. And I didn't even realize it. And then following that, I got pregnant again. And it was just this crazy pregnancy, how it happened, all of this stuff. Because I'll be honest, I was like, how did this even happen? We're not even having sex, like what happened here? So, and then I really was devastated when I found out I was pregnant, because I'm like, I can't even take care of the kids that I have. How am I going to add another one onto this? And then I lost the baby in the second trimester, which just further spiraled me, out of control. And really, so that was a couple of years until one day I was at the gym and I saw this sign that said 5K to support the Harbor House for domestic abuse victims. And I thought, well, everyone else is doing a 5K. I'm not a runner. And I was like, I should just do it. Everyone else is doing it. And me doing that 5K changed.
Oh, no. Did we lose her?
I think so.
Oh,
I know, right? It's so good. Dang it.
do you want to stop our audio or no?
Yeah, we'll stop.
I just love her.
I know. Should we hang up and call back? Maybe she doesn't know. Maybe she does know. We'll hang up.
Yeah.
I think it's only once a year, the whole year.
Stop.
Yeah, they would just go to Freedom Day.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
But
No.
you know what?
Miserable.
They do well. They're just extremely
Yeah, I mean, if it works for
frugal.
them.
Where
Yeah,
did it go? What did they do with all their trash?
They just pile it on the side of their house.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's gotta be stinky.
Yeah, this is back in Elko, Nevada, so it's a different world there.
Where do you live now?
I live in Bozeman, Montana.
Okay.
And what about you guys?
I am in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Oh, I love South Carolina. Oh.
Where have you been? Like, what part do you?
I dated a guy in college, and he was from we went to Charlotte, but that's not Grangeville. Is that it? Greenville.
Oh, Greenville? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right between Spartanburg and Greenville.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's where he was from. And so we went to a wedding in Charlotte. Anyway, so we're just kind of around that area and stuff.
I love the upstate of South Carolina.
I always have wanted to go to Charleston because I love Gone with the Wind. And so like Rhett Butler, that's where he's from. So yeah, so we
I
almost
used
did our
to live
honeymoon
down
there, but we
Charleston.
didn't. Sorry, what was that?
I said I used to live down that way. I used to live like between Savannah and Charleston in like the
Oh,
that area.
okay. Where is, oh, I think, oh, I'm looking on. Okay, hold on. I don't know. Yeah, where is the voice recorder? I just had it last time. Oh, here we go. Voice memos. Okay.
I'm looking at what you
Okay,
see
so
as my
before
mood.
we start, I re-listened to what we talked about last week.
Oh, I
So,
remember exactly where we left off.
oh, I
I was
remember
going
where
to
we
say, are we
left.
starting from ground zero or are we starting where we left off?
No, but it was a perfect cliffhanger.
It
So I
really
guess we
was.
can kind of, should we like mention, okay, after that cliffhanger or?
Oh, I want to. I think it's fun and more raw.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great with me.
I'm gonna start
So
recording.
Mariah, you had left off. I already started on here.
Oh, just kidding. Why won't it let me record? It's already doing it.
You left off literally in the middle of talking about you saw the poster for the 5K.
Okay.
So that is where you left off.
Okay.
You like the 1, 2, 3 record and the clap again.
Okay.
I think
And
we
then,
should talk. I can do just especially in case like she was cut off or has to repeat
oh,
something.
I know. I was just letting her know where she left off.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you wanted her to like pick straight back up, but I see what you're saying. Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, record.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Do you want to go ahead and do? If you have
Sure.
something.
So I feel like we should put a pause here too in the editing. What? Did you lose us? Did it just drop out? No. That was Mariah's phone dying and making us wait a whole week to hear how that story ends. Mariah, you are such a great storyteller, and I'm super grateful that you're sharing such a raw moment of your life. Can you please pick up and tell us what happened when you saw that 5K poster?
Yes, of course. So, like I said, I was at the gym and then I saw the poster for the 5K and I just looked at it. I was not a runner. I played soccer in high school, but soccer was like, I mean, I played defense so I wouldn't have to run. Let's just say that. So I was not a runner, but I just thought to myself, I thought everyone else is doing 5Ks. Why can't I just do it? Just sign up for one. How hard can it be? So I signed up for it and I did just the couch to 5K and it absolutely changed my life because it was the first time in motherhood that I had done something just for me that actually inconvenienced everybody around me. Like with, my husband, I'd be like, all right, I'm going out on my run. I'll be back, my kids, it didn't really give them any benefit other than I was happier. Other people, I had friends who were able to, watch while I did it. So it was the first time in motherhood I did something for me. And it was also, I would say, kind of the first time in my life where I actually set to do something that was really, really hard. And about midway through, there was this one training. And like I said, I'm not a runner. I had never been a runner. Midway through, there was the training day was 20 minutes of straight running. And I was scared, honestly, shitless. Like I remember going to the track and being terrified. And I thought, okay, it's just one foot in front of the other. Just keep going. I get really emotional about this day, but just keep going. So I just ran and I ran and I ran around the track and I wanted to quit. And I had like my cheesy music, like This Girl Is on Fire playing. And then I just started crying and then it started raining. To me, it was like this scene in a movie. But I finished and it was like, it wasn't even running that 5K, but just that time I thought, I ran 20 minutes straight. I don't think I've ever done that in my life.
Yeah.
And it just changed everything for me. And then I continued on and I ran the 5K. And I just remember crossing that finish line. And it was just such an incredible moment of, like I said, first, doing something solely for me as a mom, inconvenienced everybody else. It didn't benefit anybody else, And so doing something solely for me, doing something that was actually good for me, and then doing something that was really hard for me and completing it. So that was I just remember crossing that finish line and I just was like, this is it. My life is just never going to be the same. And it wasn't actually after that point. So at that point, I just was like, I'm tired of just living in this stuck mode. I'm tired of living in survival mode. I'm tired of kind of just being miserable and just taking it day by day. Like, I know I want to recreate my life and have the marriage that I want, and have the family that I want, and quit like putting myself on the back burner constantly for everybody else. And it came to a time, I think I mentioned earlier in the first part before my phone died, but my husband and I were just in a really, really raw, rough patch at that moment. And even still, I mean, it's not like that. I crossed the finish line. He was there to hug me, but it was like, and then we just enjoyed each other. No, it was still rough the rest of the summer. And then we came up to where we live now on vacation because my parents live up here. And one day we did, I'll be totally honest, I don't recommend this in my relationship coaching, doing it, but it worked. But one day it was Labor Day weekend, and I just said, listen, I can't live here anymore. I can't have you working these long hours. I can't be here with the kids, like just surviving. I just can't do this anymore. I'm moving up to Montana. You can come if you want. And if you don't, and you want to just stay here, that's fine. You can see the kids when you want. And he came. But it was just, like I said, I don't recommend going that route. But just the whole thing. And then that was just like the catalyst to everything. That 5K, like, you can do whatever you want. You can, stop putting yourself on the back burner. And even like this, you can move to wherever you want. My husband took a huge pay cut, and we had to downgrade, not downgrade. Is that the right word? Our lifestyle. But yeah,
Look at it that way,
pull it down, like, but it was just the change that our family needed. And then through that and through my journey, I was journaling and I was really thinking about it. And that's really what launched the coaching and just helping other moms, and just, kind of being that, like, you don't have to light yourself on fire to keep everybody else warm. That's not, it seems like that's motherhood, but it's not motherhood. It seems like that's marriage, but that's not marriage, or at least not a good one. So that was, my journey, and a lot of other, ups and downs. And of course, that was, I guess, over 2 years ago when I started my business. But that running the 5K was really the catalyst of, like I said, just changing my life, because it was like, I can do things that are hard, and I can do things for me, and it benefits everybody.
Can I ask you so you made that decision, and it was a big, bold decision, and obviously it worked out so well for you and your family. So what would you say marriage-wise are like the top, I don't know, 3 tools that you used, or didn't even know were tools at the time, but ended up being tools that you guys got to the other side?
I think the first thing is communication. And I know that's a big, everyone talks about communication, but effective communication. Because a lot of times when we communicate with our spouses, we think that we're communicating, but we're really not. And, I say this with my coaching, and I do believe it. By and large, men communicate to find solutions, women communicate to build relationships. So even though my delivery was wrong in that point of like, we're moving, you can come with you want, to him, he actually like got it, because it was, here's a solution. Here's my solution. I'm moving. Now it's up to you. Do you want to move with us and find a job, or do you want to just stay here and continue working? So, kind of figure it out, but here's what I'm doing. So as that, I could have now, knowing what I know now, done the delivery better, but just the fact of having that communication, and also getting to the other side, is having the damn fight sometimes. Like, don't just, it's almost like, even if the delivery is wrong, just saying what you need to say is better than just stuffing it down, pretending that it doesn't exist, kind of
Building it up.
feeling, yes, building up, feeling with resentment, which, can kind of go, I think all of us will admit, like, get into these little like passive aggressive ways that start, going through, because
Never.
we really haven't ever gotten over it. It's just, we're just acting like we did. But I would say communication, having the damn fight, and then also a lot of forgiveness and cutting each other some slack at the end of the day,
Man, that's so hard though.
It is. Oh my gosh, it's easier said than done. I'll even say my husband has said to me multiple times, Mariah, I think you need to take your own coaching advice here. And I was like, oh, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I be so mad at that? Because that's literally what I would tell my clients.
I know. My husband has said the same thing to me sometimes. He's like, you got to practice what you preach. And I'm like, I'm going to practice punching you in the face right now.
Exactly.
So I remember last week I had looked at your story, like a couple weeks ago, I looked at your Instagram story, and you had given kind of an insight into a time recently where like communication wasn't effective, but you also gave your husband grace. It was about an appointment and you being home for an appointment.
Oh, I mean, that happens all the time. So, yeah.
And I'm sure that so many of us can relate to that. How do you not let the anger and frustration get the better of you and like give them grace, and at the same time then effectively communicate with them how we can all do it?
Well, I think, kind of getting to that communication is first thing, saying it, that and if this is the right one that I talked about in my story, if this wasn't, then it's a very similar thing. But
Yeah.
I will say, okay, I have these client calls on this day, or I have calls with my team on this time and day. And then he'll say, okay, and then he'll schedule an appointment. And I'm just like, okay, now I have a client call and the little ones are at home. So, I can't fully concentrate on what I need to so it's just that disconnect. So I'd say the first thing is saying it, just saying, hey, I told you about this. Maybe you forgot. I get it. I forget stuff too. But this is really important to me. This, and especially if it is something like work, I think when you work from home, a lot of times people and maybe husbands in general kind of think like, oh, it's just working from home. Like she can kind of just take care of it.
So
And it's
frustrating.
not. It's like, no, you have.
Working.
I'm working
in
from
a place
home.
that I also have to do laundry, dishes, dust, and take care
But I
of
need to
children.
record those things when I'm working. And
Exactly. Yeah. So this is it. And it is frustrating. So I think communicating that and trying not to be, like naggy or anything, but just more matter of fact, like, listen, I understand that you forgot, that sounds a little passive aggressive, but still, but I hear it, that you forgot, we all forget, but this is important to me. I need you to check the schedule. I need you to double check with me and make sure, because these are the times that I work and these are the times that I schedule a call. And so I think giving them grace, but then also not saying, oh, it's okay. Oh, I got it. It's fine. Does that kind of make sense? Kind of that middle ground right there.
Yeah, not being passive aggressive, not being the martyr.
Yes, not being a mommy martyr. Oh, I say that all the time. Don't be a mommy martyr. Or I also say sanctimommy.
Oh,
This week my husband was like, so he took 4 days to himself. Well, I encouraged. It was his birthday. It was his birthday, and he's a race car driver. So I'm like for fun, for hobby. And I'm like, go race. He's like, but it's Mother's Day weekend. I'm like, well, it's also your birthday weekend, and it's something you love. And we lived for 3 years in Florida, and he couldn't race at all, and it was so draining to him. So I'm like, this is so good for you. Go, be gone. And so I was home by myself with the kids for 4 days. He comes home and he's sick. Okay, no problem. Powering through. And then what day was it? Like, I don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday, he is getting upset with me about something. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I have been doing everything here. And now you're blowing up at me for just because he's overwhelmed about like the list of stuff that needs to get done because he's been gone for 4 days, which like he felt terrible about being gone. So he's, I know that his head's in the right place, but he's yelling at me and I wanted to yell back so hard. And I was just like, okay, like, listen, think about our conversation with Mariah. What do I need to do here? So I took a deep breath and I just texted him and I was like, listen, I understand that you're upset. I'm trying to help you. I am on your team. I'm on your side. How can I
Oh,
help?
that's good.
That was not what I wanted to say at all, but it was like
Mhm.
I had to take a moment and not respond in the moment. And
Mhm.
yeah, it definitely it helped. It instantly switched his point of view and he was like, oh great, then in that case, would you mind doing this? I'm like, it's already done. It's taken care of. Let's move on.
Like everything else. Yeah, no, but no, I think what you said, it is so key. And, it's almost like if you're in doubt saying that, like, hey, I've got your back. I'm on your team with this, just let me know. Or, my husband has a tendency to really kind of clam up and withdraw. And that's not my personality. So I'm just like, no, we're figuring this out right now. Just like going. So that's what I've learned too, is that I need to take a step back when I sense that he's withdrawn. He doesn't want to talk about it. He's done. Even if it's something at work, maybe not even with us or the kids. It's just like, hey, is everything okay? Yeah, it's fine. Saying, all right, I've got your back. If I'm here if you do need to talk, and if not, that's all right. Just I'm on your side. So that's so key. And I think when in doubt, say that.
Great. And I never even thought of using that phrase. I've got your back if you need it.
Yeah. Because I think that a lot of times men do have this idea that everyone is against them. And maybe that's everybody too, but that everyone's against them, everyone's criticizing them, everyone's nagging them, and just kind of, and then when they start feeling kind of that powerless and weak, it's like lashing out, in order to kind of, I guess, subconsciously regain this power. I also say, when I say this stuff, don't tell your husband this stuff. He's going to be like, they don't get it. So it's like for you to know. It's for you to know, to put in your tool belt. But yeah, so letting them know, like, hey, you're not alone here. I'm not attacking you. It's not everyone coming at you. Like, even if the whole world is, I've got your back and I'm on your side, and then it kind of just diffuses the situation.
And like on the flip side of that, I used to not have his back. Like that's why I've learned that that's so helpful. And I think like that comes from my own childhood of like I was an only child in a blended family and I never had anybody that had my back. So I didn't know how to support someone. And my husband used to call that out in me all the time, like earlier on in our marriage. And he'd be like, I just want you to have my back. I just want you to be loyal. Like not loyal, but I just don't want you sleeping around. No, but I just want you to like to be on my team. Yeah, that too. I just want you to be on my team though. And I didn't know how to be a team player because I didn't have siblings and I didn't have a supportive family in my mind. And so I had to learn that. And now I've like seen how he has my back and I'm able to replicate that and then communicate it saying I have your back, which I know is all he wants to hear.
Yeah. And it's so interesting you mentioned just like your family dynamics growing up, because we don't even realize it, is that we carry what we've learned, through childhood and those family dynamics into our future relationships, And so it makes total sense if you're like, well, I was always on my own. I always had, just feeling that way. Then when you're in marriage, you don't automatically come together once you say your vows and like, hey, we're on the same team, especially, if that wasn't the dynamic that you grew up with.
Yeah.
Did we talk about this before? Do you know the Enneagram at all?
Oh, yes, I do. I know every single personality type. So lay it on me.
Well, I was just curious what Enneagram you are and what your husband is.
So I am a Enneagram 7, and my husband is an Enneagram 5. And so I'm sure you guys know that when a 7 is at her best, they go to a 5. When they're at their worst, they go to a 1. When a 5 is at their worst, they go to a 7. And I can't remember when they're at their best, but I'm like, you bring out the worst in me and I bring out you bring out the best in me. I bring out the worst in you.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Well, Sierra is a 7.
Awesome.
But that's dynamic because I am a 2. And at my worst, I go towards my boyfriend's number. So he comes towards mine at his best.
Really?
And when I'm at my best, I go towards my daughter's number. So when she's at her worst, she comes towards mine. So it's this like weird thing.
Yeah,
I'm sure
weird circle.
so much more psychology I could go into there too.
I
but
know. No, I love the Enneagram. I really do. I think it's so
yeah,
fascinating.
we've both used it big time in our relationships, and I mean, it's like a 180.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
like Jessica said, I'm also a 7 and my husband is a 6. So like
Mm-hmm.
he's very like loyal, wants to like follow the rules and not go crazy, which is super hard for a 7 because all I want to do is break all the rules and whatever.
Oh yeah.
So I've had to learn to like speak his language, and like I said, I said the word loyalty because that's what a 6 craves. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting learning where your partner's at and then meeting them there and helping them understand where you're at. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
I just crave
Having that
adventure all
I
the
know.
time.
And my husband being a 5, he just wants to think through things, kind of take his time. He's big reader. And I'm
Yep.
just like, no, let's make a decision. Just go for it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Even like the moving thing, right? Like, all right, I'm done. I'm moving. Come if you want, sort of thing. And I mean, he did, but still, like, but that's just how I am. I'm just a lot more spontaneous. And the biggest insult you could give me, I don't know if you feel this way, but would be like if someone said I was really boring, then I am not boring. I am a delight. What are you talking about? But my husband, that is the biggest compliment you could give him. He's like, all I want in life is boring. I just want a boring life. That's all I want.
Gosh. So great. Makes so much sense.
I know.
Oh. So I don't remember what we talked about the last time, Jessica, but was there anything else we needed to cover?
Not really. I had 2 other questions I had written down before last time. We may have kind of covered them. I had written down, like, how do we communicate? Because I feel like this pops up a lot. What's the best way to communicate when we feel like they should already know, but they're not getting it about any situation? I feel like that's like a huge relationship.
Yes.
Just know.
Don't you just know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like sometimes they feel that on us too. So like how to handle those situations.
Yeah, this is definitely true, and I see this a lot. So kind of tackling the you should already just know is, I also say I hope you don't have too much of a male audience because this may offend them, but I do say that men are also, husbands are like toddlers. So thinking that your toddler should already know when they're 2, just assume that they don't. And you just have to tell them again. And so sometimes when it's like, you should already know, even like the appointment thing, or, and actually, I will say, Mother's Day was not very good this year. And it really wasn't him, it was me. And, once again, not taking my own advice, unmet expectations. And I didn't clearly tell him exactly what I wanted. So because I didn't, how could he know, right? But then I thought, we've been married 11 years. You should clearly know what I want for Mother's Day. It's not that hard. And so that's what I was, thinking in my head. But it's like, once again, okay, he doesn't know. Just like my toddler doesn't know that you're not supposed to jump off your bunk bed and try and get onto the ceiling fan. He should know, but he doesn't know. So it's just like telling them again, and almost coming from that assumption that they don't know. So it's kind of like getting back to that communication, almost over communicate, like just say it, even though it's grating and it's hard, but saying it anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they even get like a lot of men get decision fatigue about doing things for us that they might already know. Like, for Mother's Day, like he's been with you for 11 years. He knows what you want, but it's like, well, should I do this one or this one? Never mind, I'm just not going to do any of it.
Yeah.
I feel like it might happen with them a lot too.
Mm-hmm. I think so. And I think sometimes too, it's, they hear what you want, but I think they also maybe want to go outside the box. I think that's kind of my husband, where it's like, yeah, but I wanted to do something different. And then anyway, this is like turning into my own personal session.
And then they don't want to do
That's
something
all right.
different. I mean, you want it.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Tell us your marital problems. Let us fix you, okay?
Well, I do say, you know, that
Fashion.
I think I told you this in the first one, but I did it all wrong so you can get it all right. And I'll even tell my clients, I'm like, do as I say, not as I do. Just because I do relationships, I know the right answers, doesn't mean that we don't get into arguments, doesn't mean, he doesn't annoy me. I know I annoy him. So, it's just like marriage, and it's just life. And it's just, how can you, I say, rebound faster, like, you're going to have disagreements, you're going to have arguments. Sometimes you're going to have fights too, but it's the rebound rate that matters. So when you have the fight, can we, say sorry and apologize and get back on the same page sooner rather than letting it a week, And that's really where kind of in marriage where it comes in. It's like, kind of like it's not the highs that count, and it's really not the lows that count, but it's really where you meet in the middle. And the more you can have just that solid middle, the more stable and boring relationships are, which are good relationships.
That's a good reminder. I feel like unless you have something else here, I feel like that's a good segue into our question that we ask.
I also feel like we asked that question, like I feel like it's already answered, but we could still try.
I know, but that always happens, I feel.
I know, I'm just wondering if maybe we should get rid of it in total because it seems to already happen, but we'll give it a shot.
We'll see.
Okay. So, well, actually, I did have one little thought on what you just said, and then I'll go to the question. But my thought is that, like, because you said a boring marriage, and I feel like it's once you can let your marriage get boring that you start to see the cute little beautiful parts about it. Like it seems boring from the outside, but then I feel like once it's boring, you're slowed down enough to be like, oh my gosh, he still does that thing that he did 10 years ago. Or, oh, I didn't notice that he did this with our children. Like, that's so beautiful. And so, like, it's like boring is so, like, here it is, the 7 in me going, oh God, not boring.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want boring.
But it is like, to the outsider, it may seem boring, but inside, living it day to day, it's just so special because it's like settled and calm and
yeah, and the stability.
You're noticing the little moments, and that's where the gratitude, which we talk about all the time in life, comes in. Is saying, it's like seeing the little tiny things is showing gratitude. Oh, I love it when he does that, or I love that he always sets my mug out in the morning or something like that.
Yeah.
And more of it shows up, and you're like, wow, this is an amazing relationship.
Does Jed set your mug out every morning?
No, he doesn't. But I mean, he would, but I don't drink coffee in the morning. So, but most mornings we'll grind enough coffee beans so that there's some for me.
Oh, that's very kind.
That is very kind.
It is.
Okay, so the question that we ask everyone, it's a very serious note, and the reason we do it is just to show that, like, well, I mean, you've pretty much said this throughout the whole time, but like, while you have marriage advice and you may seem on the outside like you have it all together, like, really, we all have moments of struggle and heartache, and that's okay, and that's normal, and that there's a way to power through it. So you've told us a lot about some of the harder moments in your life. Could you give us one moment in particular that was just like a raw, real moment where it was not your finest, but perhaps there was a lesson out of it, or if nothing else, we can just share with our audience that we all have moments like this.
I would say my rawest moment, I did mention it, but it was definitely the when I had my miscarriage with my 6th. And the reason was it was so raw is because, at that time that I talked about, I had such bad depression, such bad anxiety, just not functioning. Yes, on the outside, I'm sure I looked like everything was fine, but it wasn't. So when I got pregnant, I begged and begged and begged God for it not to be true. I was like, this can't be true. I can't even take care of my kids. And I just remember just praying that it wouldn't be true. And then, in my story, then in the 2nd trimester, I did lose my baby. And that guilt just like overwhelmed me so much and, just that voice in your head of, well, you prayed for this, so you got what you wanted, And I would say that was my rawest and realest moment, and something I couldn't voice for a long time because I didn't want to admit, that shadow side. And I think all of us have those moments, and I wouldn't even call it a shadow side. It's just real human emotion and just where I was at. But, and having 5 kids and, having a sixth, it was just always this like happy face, like, this is what we wanted. This is what we wanted. Whereas I'm like, oh my gosh, I just can't. And then, having that. And then that, and, my story continues, but if, with my miscarriage too, I had 2 DNCs and I, almost hemorrhaged and died. So all of that was really just scary. And, you always have these visions of how your husband would be in that moment, like knight in shining armor and all this. And he came through the best way he could at the time. And we've worked through this and we've talked about it, but to me, it wasn't what I wanted and what I expected. And so that was kind of just the lowest for me emotionally as a mother, and then just the absolute lowest in our marriage. But it does get better, and the beautiful thing is that in those low moments, you can get better and you can take them, and then you can also accept them and maybe not even learn from them necessarily or immediately look for the lesson, because I think the lesson will appear when it's ready to appear, but almost just allow it to come and process and not judge.
Yeah.
Does that resonate, I guess, or does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I love that. I feel like that's what I'm always doing. It's like, okay, this is a low moment. What am I supposed to be learning? But to just let it happen and come out the other side in one piece and then maybe learn from it later. Like, oh,
yeah,
beautiful insight. I love that.
Yeah, because I think we can. I was just listening to an influencer a couple of weeks ago, and she was just like, this is just a season, this, and just kind of that toxic positivity that I call, where it's like, this is just a season. What am I learning from this? What can you learn from this in this season? And it's like, maybe there's not a lesson right now, other than just to let it be and let it process and just let it play out, rather than typical 7. All right, what's next? What's next? Let's move it along, like, don't wallow, let's just keep going, but just allowing yourself that time. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
I was
for giving. You were trying to what?
I was trying to allow for like the moment. I was taking her.
Oh. I'm a 7. I can't. I got to move on.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? So comfortable.
Now let's get to the positive part. Jessica's got some great, fun lightning round questions for you. So can we
I love it.
Please get rid of the hard stuff? No. But for real, thank you.
I love that we interviewed some questions.
Oh, good.
I know.
Lightning rounds are like Okay, I've got 5 lightning round questions for you. Favorite Disney princess?
Belle, even though I think she had Stockholm Syndrome, but it's still Belle.
Oh man. I have to read my own handwriting.
Hold on. Is that where you like fall in love with your captor? Is that what Stockholm Syndrome?
Yeah, she fell in love with. I mean, you really think about it, watching it, you're like, this is totally a horrible abusive situation. Yeah, that's Stockholm Syndrome. They fell in love with the guy who kidnapped them. It was in Stockholm, Sweden. And then they captured him. They captured all these girls he was hiding, and they defended him in trial because they all loved him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I
That's
know.
crazy.
So that's
but I feel like she could just see the beauty in even the ugliest beast. So she's my favorite too.
Yeah, I do love her.
I'm pretty sure that my daughter is Belle. She literally walks around with her nose in a book and like doesn't see anything else.
Oh, that's darling.
First thing you like to do when you get alone time?
Oh my gosh, this is okay. So a couple of things. I mean, if I get alone time and I'm out, there's nothing better than a Saturday alone with a Starbucks and Target. That's amazing. Just, it's so basic, but it's amazing. Just a Starbucks and a Target, just wandering the aisles. But then also, just if I'm alone, my guilty pleasure is anything on Bravo, especially Real Housewives. So catching up on my Housewives shows when I'm alone. Yes.
Okay. Who's your favorite child? I'm just totally kidding. That's not the real question.
I'm like, which day?
There you go. That's a perfect answer. No, for real though. What's your favorite book about marriage?
Oh my gosh, let me think. I can think of a lot of books that weren't good about marriage.
Oh, there you
Oh man.
go. Or did
Oh, I feel like
anything hit you hard when you read it? Like, oh, this is so good.
um I would say, the biggest shifts I will say actually I had about marriage was reading Brene Brown's books, especially in the matter of shame. And she I think it's Daring Greatly where she talks about really getting into like the male component of shame. And we all know how it feels as females, but then really understanding shame from a man's perspective. And that's like the ultimate, because when it's shame, it's they feel powerless, and it's kind of like the liken it to like a 12-year-old on a football field, right? Where, he's 12 years old, so he's still a little boy. He's about to go on the football field, and there's, eighth graders like twice his height, and he's just scared. So he get out there, he gets hit hard, he comes off, and, he's crying. And then what does the coach tell him? Does he say, wow, how did that feel? Are you hurt? No, it's like, I won't say the word, but, get your ass out there, man up, quit being a little girl and get out there. So then the boy gets really mad. He gets out there and then he just goes and lays someone out. And then what is it? His dad's cheering in the sidelines. Everyone's rooting around him. Probably the cute girl in the stand sees it. So then he knows to avoid shame at all costs, and so it's the anger and aggression is okay, but shame and crying is not. So that's a very long thing, but that's the first thing that came to mind was Brene Brown really diving into the shame and kind of transforming how I talk to my husband and how we communicate is everything to avoid kind of those shaming things with him, because it doesn't do anything except withdraw or bring out anger and aggression.
Yeah, I don't, because I listen to all of her stuff. And I love how she talked about when she was doing the research on shame. She didn't even like it changed her perspective on
Yeah.
because when she got to really talk to them, they're like the women in my life, my mom, my wife, like they want me to be open, they want me to talk about my feelings, but then the second that I do, it's not the manly thing to do. Like they still expect, whatever else from me, and it's like
exactly.
We
I
do.
know. It was so true. Oh, and then in her Netflix special, I don't know if you watched that, but she also talked about her and her husband where they were swimming in Texas. They were both swimmers. And then she said that she was swimming and she's kind of trying to talk to him and he just like wasn't talking to her. And then, in her mind, she's like, why isn't he talking to me? What's going on in his head? And she's like, my body's not the same as it was, 25 years ago. Is he thinking that about, me and like what's going on? And for him, he was almost having a panic attack because for some reason, something came into his mind that what if we all drown? I'm not here. I can't save anybody. So kind of getting this powerless, he was trying not to have a panic attack. And even then I go, oh, that makes so much sense. Kind of like what we think that they're thinking is generally not at all what they are thinking.
Yeah. That's hard.
I know.
Okay. These last two questions we asked everybody. The first one is, what is your favorite small business? Because we are huge small business supporters.
Oh my gosh, my favorite small business. I'll have to say my favorite small business right now is my friend Candace Foster. She does these darling children's clothes. It's called Hello Wild Baby Company. She hand sews them. Her sister makes the prints for her. And she just has the most darling girls. And I love her mission. When she started it, she just didn't like the clothes for the little girls with like the sayings. She's like, no, I want something durable that's, very kind of timeless. So she just started sewing her own clothes and then created her own shop. So I will say that is, my favorite small business, and she's just a delight.
Give her a plug. Where can we find her?
Oh, you can find her at Instagram. It's at Hello Wild Baby Co. Or her personal one, which you'll see all the same stuff, is at Hello Wild Mama. And you can also find her on Etsy, Hello Wild Baby Co.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, okay, I love to give her a shout out. Her stuff's so cute.
Oh, I can't wait to look. Okay, our last question is, what is your favorite thing about you?
My favorite thing about me is, well, I kind of said it earlier. Honestly, I think I'm a delight. I think I am a hoot. I think I'm
Right.
fun. I think I'm kind. I will say I am a great first date. Sometimes if you get to know me, maybe you won't like me, but
Well, hey, I mean, this is our second date, and I still think you're a delight.
well, thank you. We're
I
meant to
mean,
be.
I could take or leave you. No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so good. I love that. I'm a great first date.
I am. It's the talent.
Oh man, so good.
Well, and then here, not lightning round, but our last question is, where can people find you? Where can our listeners look for you and get in touch?
Yeah, you can find me. The best way is just on Instagram. It's at Marriah. It's my parents got creative at MARRIAH Cummins CUMMINS. And then you can search that, and you can also just search Mamas and Marriages, which is my business name. And you can, just see. I give relationship advice. I, talk about my own journey. Sometimes I'll throw up some stuff with my kids. Attempt to do some reels, which I feel like is so
No,
old
your reels
trying
are
to do
great.
those. Thanks.
You're doing a great job.
So yeah, that's the best way to find me. And then my website's just mamasandmarriages.com. And but yeah, the best way to get a hold of me is just to follow. And I love to connect with other moms, and I love talking all things relationships, motherhood, all of that stuff. So yeah, I love connecting, especially around that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today and giving us so much real, raw insight to your own marriage and not pretending like you've got it all together. We appreciate that fully.
Yeah, no, it's, I think the best lessons can be learned, through other people's journeys. And, the more raw and open that we are, you don't have to air out your dirty laundry, but just say, yeah, I still struggle with it. We all do. And so that there's hope. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just the rebound rate that matters.
Amazing. Do you want to just, since our close is kind of short and Marriah
Okay.
seems very friendly, we usually hang up with our guests to do our close, but I feel like you wouldn't mind. Do you care if we do our close right now?
No, not at all.
It's not long at all. Well, thanks for joining us. Well, thank all of you for joining us as well. We hope you loved hearing from Marriah as much as we did, because we had a blast this episode. And if you want to be part of the show, we would love to have you. So send an audio clip of what strength means to you to podcast@inrawlife.com.
Until next week, we hope that you take some of Mariah's amazing life and relationship nuggets and use them in your life. Get connected with your significant other, give them a little bit of grace, and remember that the most important thing in a stable relationship, the most important thing in a boring relationship is the rebound rate. Bye.
That reminded me, though, we need to get a strength clip too.
Oh yeah.
So
I didn't ask about that one.
What?
Like
when she and I first talked, I didn't ask.
Oh, you didn't tell her. Okay, so we start every episode with what strength means to some random person. And we pull them from our listeners too, but we don't always use them in like we won't use it for this episode. But can you say like strength means or being strong means, and then just fill in like a 5 to 30-second definition of what strength means to you?
Okay, let me think to try and, because brevity is not my strong suit, so try it. Okay, I got it.
Go for it.
Okay. What strength means to me is being brave enough to live your most authentic life, and by living your most authentic life, being brave enough to accept what is good about you, accept what is bad about you, even honor what can be really ugly about you, and still showing up anyway, still loving anyway, still engaging anyway, and breaking down the facade, breaking down the walls, and allowing yourself to live authentically with all of those things. Because when you do, and you're showing that strength, you're also giving that strength to others to show up in the same way.
Perfect.
Is it good? Okay.
That was great.
Yeah.
All right, so you can stop recording on wherever you're recording. And do you have our email address?
Maybe not. Maybe I just have.
I think we just talked on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jess, do you want to send her? Do you have a Gmail account?
Yes.
Okay. If you could send it via Gmail, because it's gonna probably be big. Send both of your recordings that from last week and this week.
Okay.
And send it to the email that Jess gives to you.
Okay.
What is your email, Mariah?
It is. Oh, it's kind of long. It's my old business name. It's Girlhood, GIRLHOOD, cultivated @gmail.com.
So GIRLHOODCULTIVATED, right?
Yes.
What was your old business?
You know what? It was the same thing, but I just focused on motherhood and raising strong daughters because I said strong moms raise strong daughters. And I didn't want to do relationship coaching because I was like, my marriage isn't perfect. So what can I tell everybody? And then it was kind of through that journey where I was just like, oh, one day, sorry, I'll swear. But I was like, fuck it. Everyone has a terrible relationship. And so it's like, I'm just going to just put it out there and start learning and researching and, implementing things into my marriage. And that's where it just kind of came out, which is funny because now I focus so much more on relationships. And I just got hired on with consulting for another coaching business, talking about relationships like with clients and stuff like that, so kind of keeping those and building them.
I feel like God totally takes our weaknesses and throws them on their heads. Like, okay, that's what I need. That's actually what I need from you.
Yes. Totally. And, it's funny you say that because I remember I was pretty open when I had 3 little ones to somebody. Actually, it was our pastor's wife, and our old church pastor's wife. And I told her, I said, it's really hard in marriage. It's really hard raising kids. It's really hard on our marriage. And she had her first, and she said, in front of me, but to someone else, I don't know what Mariah's talking about with it being so hard because it's only made us stronger.
Oh, God.
And I was like, just the tears. But it's funny, I think about that. And then now I'm like, isn't it funny that that's what I'm doing now?
Yes.
Talking about how to have a strong marriage,
So when my husband, obviously, I talked last time about how I had this picture perfect idea of what marriage was going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't. And so I wrote a short movie script called Honestly Ever After. And
I remember that.
Cute.
I was actually thinking of sending it to you to see what your feedback is, because I still really want to produce it.
Yeah.
So I will. I'll send it to you.
You should. Gosh. And you know what's so funny about that probably is if his wife read it, she'd probably be like, yeah, because most of the time guys don't get it,
Yeah.
No, it's if you ask a guy hey, how's your marriage? They probably that's fine, but women are well, could be better. It's Mother's Day sucked. So
actually, yeah. But I also feel you wouldn't they got married really quick. It was this Tinder relationship, magic, who knew 2 Christians could find each other on Tinder sort of situation. It was all fluff and fairy tales. And I'm and even my friend who was his sister was I wish they just stop pretending they have it all together. There's no freaking way that their relationship is this perfect, but maybe it is. Maybe they're the unicorn of life, and good for them.
I don't know. I'm you should send her to me. Give her my card. I guess. Yeah. Sounds like she's probably a pretty ideal client. Sorry, just from the outside.
I know. It's true.
But it's kind of funny. Just people I know that I've had as clients who have talked to me. I'm just you would never know it by your Instagram. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just but it's just that's just real life. We all deal with stuff. You know what I mean? But it's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, Well, I'll send you my script and see what you think of it.
Yes, I'd love that. And I hope my dog, she was in her kennel and then she started barking. So that's why I was moving around a lot. So
You're
hopefully
fine.
it didn't distract it too much. And my little boys just came down and they are so good upstairs. Thank you, boys.
Oh.
I know. I did kind of threaten them in an inch of their life, though. I was like, you be quiet. Not right now, okay? So, well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was great
Yeah, I look
having
forward
you.
to it. Yes, this was so much fun. So, and I'll have to tell my friend that I gave her a shout out on there too.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we'll keep you updated on when it's going to post.
Yeah,
It
that
should
would
be
be
in
great.
June, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So, yeah, and I'll just keep following and listening to your guys' podcast. So, thank you guys so
You're
much.
so sweet. Thank you. Have a
All
great
right.
day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Are you still there? Yes, maybe. Frozen.